I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am the podcaster who never stops talking. I am Darkwing Duck. And you, good citizens, are listening to the St. Canard Files, a podcast all about me. You lucky dogs. What are the royalties on something like this anyway?
We are here to review the 3D comic, but I suspect we're a little out of our depth on this one. Welcome to the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. We're your hosts, Stan Lunn and
Tiffany Silverbraun.
Welcome back, Tiff.
Good to be back.
It's good to have you back. So, anything new and exciting with you?
Not really. Nothing new. Same old,
No?
same old.
Well, sometimes that's not such a bad thing.
Yep.
We do have a little bit of news to discuss, though. This news actually dropped literally today that Dynamite will be releasing the trade paperback, the trade collection for the Dynamite Darkwing Duck series, the first 6 issues. It'll be releasing in August, and it'll be available in paperback, hardcover, and a signed hardcover by Amanda Dybert. No idea on the pricing, though, as of yet. Will you be picking any of those up?
Yeah, I think I definitely want to get the hardcover.
Yeah, I'm probably going to order all 3 of them just because I learned my lesson about not ordering Darkwing trade collections with Boom and Joe books. I had to pay quite a bit for some of those, not making the same mistake this time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're reviewing a 3D comic today. Are you a fan of 3D?
Yeah, when I was younger, I was all about it. The red blue 3D. I loved whenever like comic books would do like a 3D issue, or they had a lot of things like in the 90s where they'd be like special 3D episode of this show, and you'd have to go to like a store to get your 3D glasses and watch it.
Yeah.
And then I also loved like the old horror movies because I'm a horror person, like House of Wax and Creature from the Black Lagoon. I had a copy of that with the 3D glasses too.
Cool. Yeah, I liked the idea of 3D, but having bad eyesight as a kid, even with corrective surgeries, I've very rarely been able to take advantage of any sort of 3D effect, using 3D glasses. The one exception has been some of the more recent Marvel movies like Doctor Strange and Spider-Man No Way Home and the 2 Avatar films. For the most part, though, 3D just doesn't work with my eyes, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's been
actually
harder for me the older I get too.
Yeah. It's actually disappointing though, because there were so many cool 3D things when I was a kid. Like there were issues of the real Ghostbusters comic that were 3D specials.
Yeah.
They had, special Power Ranger 3D books with those so cool, gotta have them 3D glasses.
Yeah, they used to do it all the time. And I even remember like Crayola came out with this they sold a set of 3D markers, and I used to do these drawings to make like my own 3D pictures when I was a kid.
I remember those.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, those are awesome.
Yeah. So, any other thoughts on 3D, or should we jump into this comic?
Not much. I mean, it had a resurgence. It came back, and I think it's on its way out again. And who knows? It'll probably come back again.
Probably. Though I think, as long as awesome movies keep releasing in theaters, we'll have 3D versions of a lot of those.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder if 3D will ever get to the point where you see like a fake shark coming out of a movie theater plaque like they did in Back to the Future 2.
Shark still looks fake.
Yeah. So the comic we're reviewing today, it's got a long title. What is the title, Tiff?
It is Son of the Return of the Revenge of the 3D Man. Very
Yeah.
similar to the Brain Teasers episode.
Yeah. I wonder which one's longer. Now, this comic appeared in the November 1992 issue of Disney Adventures that has Magica Dispel and Will
Woohoo!
Smith on the cover. And we've actually, this is not our first foray into this issue of Disney Adventures. Listeners may recall the review of the DuckTales comic, A Switch in Time, that I believe me and Mike did. That was also from this issue. And we talked about some of the other cool things in that episode that are part of the issue. So if you haven't heard it yet, check that out for a more in-depth review of the entire issue as a whole. But the comic itself was written by Bobby J.G. Weiss and David Cody Weiss. Now, they are a husband and wife duo that's written a lot of, well, Bobby's written a lot of Darkwing stuff. Her and David have only co-conspired on Inversionary Tactics and Chaos God.
Mm.
Now, Bobby also worked on the Darkwing comics, What's the Problem, Vogue's Gallery. She also worked on a lot of other DuckTales, Chip and Dale, Tailspin, Goof Troop, and Gargoyles comics. And she had a hand in one of my favorite Goof Troop comics, Automania, with David Cody Weiss.
Nice.
Another comic David Cody Weiss did that was pretty cool was the Perils of Mickey one, where I think Mickey has to take on the Mad Duck tour. Very cool, creepy comic. I bet you'd love that one, Tiff, if you haven't read it.
I should check it out.
Yeah. And our art in this issue was done by Mike Royer. Now, this is the only Darkwing Duck comic that he worked on. He did do a lot of Mickey Mouse strips.
Well, that's a shame because the art is really good.
It is very good art, yes. It actually reminds me quite a bit of David Schwartz's art, but with a little less exaggeration when it comes to the characters.
Yeah.
So how do we start?
So you see Darkwing, and he's dressed as Darkwing for some reason, though, even though he's in front of his house, picking up a newspaper, humming to himself, and he sees a headline that says 3D man escapes from jail. And all of this is just like a regular flat drawing, but then you see in 3D a hand reaching out of the newspaper at him.
As well as eyes watching DW.
Yeah. And then you see him getting sucked into his newspaper.
Yep, and Darkwing does his best old car sound effect, Auga!
Yep.
But Launchpad sees what's going on, and he jumps into the newspaper after Darkwing.
Yeah, and they did a gimmick in this where it's not just 3D, but what is it called? Blinkies? Yeah. Blinkies, where it's red and blue 3D, so you close one eye and the other, and the pictures change within the panels.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also hidden messages in here, though I didn't find a lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah, then you see Darkwing, and he's in this fully 3D world, and you see 3D Man himself, who has amazing character design.
Yeah.
He has like bulging eyeballs and a mohawk, and I don't know, he kind of reminds me of like a Flash Gordon type outfit.
Yeah, and he also has a mustache, because villains have to have a mustache, because how will you know who the villain is?
Yeah. And he says revenge will be mine because I guess Darkwing caught him or caused an industrial waste accident that turned him into 3D man and also made him go crazy. Mad, mad, mad,
And I
actually.
love how that last mad word resembles the Mad Magazine logo, mad.
Yeah, totally.
Also, Darkwing has a bit of a habit of turning foes into things by getting them into like chemicals, doesn't he?
Yeah.
3D Man, Liquidator, and I'm pretty sure there's a third one that I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, so he says that he escaped and now Darkwing's in his world and that everything will now be jumping out at him. And I love how Launchpad has like the words of the newspapers like stuck to him.
Oh, that's what that is. I thought it was saying like goal escape.
Oh, yeah, it's the headline that got stuck to him on his way in.
That makes so much more sense.
So yeah, this issue is very meta.
Yeah. So 3D Man tells Darkwing to enjoy his stay, although he suspects that he'll be a little out of his depth. And LP hears something very large, which looks to be some sort of like giant tiger,
Yeah, or maybe a giant dog. I don't know.
possibly, or a lion.
Yeah, some giant beast.
So Darkwing tells Launchpad to climb, and they get caught in some sticky stuff that causes Darkwing to literally fall apart.
Yeah, kind of like how he looked in Brush with Oblivion.
Yeah. So,
And
oh, sorry, you go.
yeah, and then you see them and they're on these giant floating, it's like all like 3D gimmicky stuff. They're on these giant floating like molecule type things.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out how to capture him. And Launchpad says take away his red and blue glasses. And then
Yeah.
Darkwing, the idea, says no, I'll just peek ahead in the story, and you see him peeling back the page of the comic book to look at the next page, and you see Honker and Goslin. You want to take it?
Yep. And Honker's like, okay, but I've got to be careful with this black hole. One bump could disrupt the stabilizer field and it could suck us all into oblivion. And that gives Darkwing Duck the idea. That's it. We'll suck 3D Man into a black hole.
Yep.
So then we cut to back to the real world where Goslin and Honker have discovered a screaming newspaper. Did you hear that, Honk? It's my dad. Yeah, sounds like he's finally gotten himself in the news.
Yeah, and this part is all now back to regular colored comic art with
Yeah.
Goslin and Honker. And Goslin notices that the headline on the newspaper says that 3D Man escaped, and she suspects that Darkwing got trapped in some kind of crazy alternate universe. Honker says, "Wait here," and then you get another blinky of him.
Where the blue ink is him running away from the house, and the red ink is him running back towards the house.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're wearing your 3D glasses and you close one eye, you'll see whatever color the glasses shows you of the one image, and then when you do the reverse, you'll see the other image.
Yep.
But Honker returns with this contraption, and they jump into the newspaper. Now, notice that the contraption here, actually, there's two different things to notice here. One is that there's something missing in between the two chairs, isn't there?
Yeah, you don't have the statue of Great Mouse Detective.
Right, or the table it sits on.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the other thing to notice here is that the top of this device is blank, because in a few more panels we see the top of it, and now it's got like a screen on it and knobs and things.
Yep.
But anyway, they jump into the paper, and we get a Keen Gear. Though I'm not
Mhm.
sure I quite understand what Goslin was going for here with Keen Gear Geometry class on Mars. But
Yeah.
Honker has found some footprints, and no, they are not dinosaur prints. I love that bit in that episode. And then we get the panel that Darkwing had peeked ahead to.
Yeah, I love that it's in the exact place of like where he was looking when he was peeling back the page.
Yeah. So
Um,
they meet up with Darkwing and Launchpad, and Darkwing's like, "Boy, you guys are quick. Do you have the black hole?" And Honker's like, "Wait, how did you? Oh, never mind." And then
yep.
we get Honker, saying, "Ready, Mr. Mallard?" Or I mean, Darkwing, sir. Which Honker, I know it's nice and all that you're trying to protect DW's identity, but he kind of outed himself by going out his front door in costume.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not very tight with the keeping the secret identity secret.
Right. So
Um,
then, or do you want to take this part?
sure. So then Darkwing goes to summon 3D Man and says, "Yoo-hoo, flat face, plain Jane, Mr. Complainant, when we have a surprise for you." And there's the
And I
star.
will say, next to complain it has a little asterisk, and it says, "Look it up, editor."
Yeah, which is
Which
really hard to not
I
hear Tamatoa from Moana when you
and
read
I
that.
and I actually did look it up.
Yeah, it means
So
like to be like flattened or
yeah, made level in
yeah.
one plane. So yeah, definitely a word though I didn't know beforehand. So look at that, Darkwing Duck teaching important stuff.
You know what? Like as a side note on this, I actually got so much vocabulary from watching Darkwing Duck as a kid. So many words. Because he
Yeah.
uses like so many big words on the show, and I was pretty young, and almost every time I'd have to be like, let me look up what that word means.
Yep.
Pretty good.
So 3D Man arrives and he's like, "How dare you insult me? Hey, I'm just getting started, linear breath. I'm taking you on a one-dimensional trip to the pancake zone."
Yep. And then Darkwing tells Honker to let her rip. And you see a giant like black hole sucking the entire universe and into a spiral. 3D Man goes flying, and you see Darkwing, Launchpad, and Goslin hanging on to the edge of the panel itself.
And
And
Honker.
yeah, and Honker, sorry. And then you just see it pop back into normal colored drawing
Yep.
world.
Still though,
And
no table and statue in between them chairs.
yeah, yeah. It's such a weird mistake that they did more than once.
Yeah. So they're all back home, and Honker explains the sudden tunnelization of the multidimensional envelope must have instantaneously reversed the field stabilization effect. And Darkwing responds with, right. And darned lucky for us, too. The only problem is things are going to seem a little flat from now on, as he fixes his hat. And we get a one last little 3D pop effect as the comic
Yep.
ends.
Yeah. Short and sweet.
Yep. So what do you think of this one?
I loved it. I know a lot of it is nostalgia goggles, nostalgia 3D glasses. but yeah, I mean, I think that this one would have been awesome as a animated episode.
Oh, for
And
sure. I can only
there
imagine the trippy visuals we would have got out of that.
yeah, it would have been really cool. And that's kind of what I was thinking, like, while reading it is, it almost is a wasted idea that I wish was an episode, but I mean, it works. Um, and yeah, I really like the villain, even though you barely get to see any of him.
Yeah. So how
Uh,
many gas gun canisters would you rate this one?
I think I'll give it a 4 because it does exactly what it's meant to do. There's, it's like a 3D comic strip in a Disney Adventures. It didn't really make any errors with that.
So I'm going to give it a little less than you. I'm going to give it a 3.5D out of 5. For a lot of the same reasons that you said, that it is a pretty interesting concept. It does seem to have a pretty good story to it, but I wish it either been longer, or I wish that it actually been an episode where they could have utilized things more. I think 3D Man is a pretty interesting looking villain, but I would have liked to have seen a bit more of him. Particularly would have liked to have seen maybe his creation, or maybe the first time Darkwing tangled with him, because I'm assuming Darkwing fought him before and put him in jail.
Yeah.
There are a couple mistakes that bring it down a little bit. The fact that the statue and the table isn't between the chairs. The little mistake on the gizmo that Honker has, and then the weird choice to have Darkwing exit his front door in full costume. Like, that
Yeah.
is definitely not something he ever would have done in the show. But overall, pretty good comic. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, they could
Now,
have definitely had it be, because they obviously need him to get sucked in as Darkwing. They could have had it set in the tower. I don't know why it had to be his home necessarily.
yeah.
And I also,
So,
this
oh,
is
sorry.
sorry, there's another thing, is that it's super meta, but when they're in the 3D world, it's clearly in a comic book format. So it seems like they could have had it be him reading a comic book and then he gets sucked into it, or they could have
Yeah.
made it look a little bit more like a newspaper. It's a little weird that it's like a comic.
Yeah.
You know?
So let's rate our villain, because we do have a villain to rate now as well.
All right. I will give him a 3, which I really wish I could go higher because I really like the concept and his design. What you see of him, I like all of it. But there's just not enough. He like barely does anything in it.
Yeah.
So I can't really rate it super high.
Yeah, I think I'll go with you on this one and do a 3 as well. That I think his design is amazing. It's a neat concept, but I just wish we'd gotten more out of him. I would have liked to have seen, as I said, his origin, maybe what he was or who he was before the accident. His first tussle with Darkwing, especially since the title, definitely makes you think that there's more to this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe if they're rebooting the show, there'll be a super cool 3D animated adaptation of this in 3D that you have to wear glasses for. That would be amazing.
Possibly. Or if Dynamite's listening, hell, you might want to bring the character back. I mean,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure that's a possibility.
that would be awesome.
Have an entire, issue dedicated to 3D Man.
Yeah. Or maybe
Uh,
like a two issue arc.
or that. So we got actually a bit of time left. Do you want to do a mini review?
Hmm. Of the show. Let's see. Huh. A little on the spot. Do you have
Sorry.
an episode in mind? I could talk about it. I
How
can't
about Bad
remember
Luck
that
Duck?
All right. That one is pretty great. I love that one when I was a kid. I remember I couldn't stop laughing at it as a kid.
Yeah.
The animation is pretty loose in that one, though.
Yeah. Though it does give us a lot of Negaduck vehicles.
Yeah. Yep. It's a pretty good Negaduck episode.
Yeah. Though also has some more problematic elements of it nowadays as well with the
Yeah.
witch doctor stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they're not like, I mean, I guess they're stereotypes, but they're not really racial stereotypes, I guess, which is at least they have that.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're like little boars, right?
I think so. It's actually been a while since I've watched the episode.
I mean, it is always problematic when you have voodoo and stuff. I kind of don't really like that because it's an actual religion. And it kind of
Right.
always gets addicted in things like it's a joke or like witchcraft, but it really is like a religion.
Yeah.
So,
It does seem to cause a lot of problems. I mean, that's why a couple of the stories in the Don Rosa, Scrooge stories aren't going to be reprinted anymore.
yeah. Do you know who the animation studio was for that one?
I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't have all the animation studios memorized like Mike and Will do.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that one, but whoever it is, they always do this thing where like Darkwing and Negaduck's hat is always like, it looks like it's about to fall off their head.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about. Like
Think I do.
usually they always have it so it's like secure, like it's glued to their head basically. But whatever animation studio that is for Bad Luck Duck, it's like a thing where it's always bouncing and tilting off their head all the time. That's pretty fun and funny.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what would you rate that one?
Now I would probably give it a 3.
All right. I probably would give it about a 3.5 myself. But then again, I'm a Negaduck fanboy, so
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, if it was little kid me, I'd probably give it a 5 because I
yeah.
loved that episode so much.
Yeah, sorry for putting you on the spot there. I just figured we needed a little more time in this episode, and I actually got inspired about Bad Luck Duck because I listened to the Sleepless in St. Canard Files podcast earlier today.
Oh,
They
yeah.
actually reviewed that one. They actually
Nice.
had something pretty cool in their new episode. Someone actually got Tad Stones to do a promo for the opening of their episode.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
cool.
But
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say I need to catch up on those.
Yeah. But
I think
we are what?
nothing. Continue.
Sorry.
It's a little
Still not
so-
used to this, you know.
Yeah. The sound is a little choppy on my end, so I apologize.
But we are the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. You can find us on all podcast apps and YouTube. Tiff, any shout outs tonight or places you want the fans to find you at?
Not really. I don't have any shout outs, but yeah, just same old place for me. Instagram at Tiffany Silverbraun. I'll just say that one, and YouTube at Radioact Tiffany.
Yep. And people can find me at DMC Jedi Man and DMC Jedi Man Gaming on YouTube. And I do have a couple shout outs today. The first one is to Magica McDuck, which is at Karate Kalai on Twitter, who recently did a 6 fan arts of DuckTales, and I had actually suggested that they do Negaduck for that one, and they did a pretty good job on their Negaduck, I must say.
Awesome. I'll have to check that out.
And my other shout out is to an old friend, Andrew Wallace, who actually joined the Darkwing Duck chat for the first time tonight in a long time.
Nice.
So it was great talking to you again, Andrew, and we miss you, buddy. So until next time, stay dangerous and keep your 3D glasses handy.
Bye.